So let's learn the key components of a constructive conversation, and we'll understand all of this with a story that I'm going to tell you. So you've got Vedanti. She gets sick on the morning of a really important presentation. She quickly calls Rohan and she tells him that, Rohan, you're going to have to do this for me. You're going to have to deliver this presentation to the client. And Vedanti is telling him where the latest version of the presentation is. But Rohan is already thinking about what he should wear, how should he open the presentation. So he arrives at the client's office and he realizes he doesn't have the latest version of the presentation. So he tries to add things on his own and it takes more time than is allotted. The client has time to only ask one question, and then Rohan later goes to tell Vedanti about the meeting. She's pretty upset. So what should Rohan have done better? Rohan should have listened. This is the first component of a constructive conversation: listening. So then Rohan's manager Ashwin just goes all out at him, lashes out at him and said, listen, why were you looking at the screen instead of talking to the client? And Rohan is not looking at Ashwin. He's staring at the pattern of the tiles below him while he's being reprimanded. And Ashwin thinks that this is a really good time to make him understand why the client was so disinterested in what Rohan had to say, because there was no eye contact. So the second component of a constructive conversation is eye contact. So as Rohan is in front of Ashwin, he starts fidgeting with his pen in his hand. He's crossing and uncrossing his legs. He's biting his lip. He has, minimal facial expressions. And Ashwin, the manager, realizes that the problem is actually much deeper than just eye contact. It's about confidence. If you are confident in what you are saying, where does it show when you speak? It's in your body language. Therefore, the third component of a constructive conversation is body language. So later in the day, Rohan goes down with his work friend Amruta. They go and have chai by the tea stall and he confides in her. Look, I'm in such a distressing situation with this client. I got lectured by Vedanti. She's upset with me, and Ashwin, our manager. And Amruta just takes a long sip of chai and looks at him and says, I understand that you're new to this setup. And trust me, I know given your background from the IT industry, it's really going to be difficult in the beginning, but it's going to get easier. Conversing with a client is not an easy job, and you've done it in just the first month of your joining. So kudos to you, Rohan. This was a failed presentation. It's going to be a great learning experience. What do you think is the key ingredient of what Amruta has said to Rohan that sounds so good? It's empathy. So the fourth component in a constructive conversation is empathize and personalize. So after receiving a morale boost from Amruta, Rohan is back in the office. He's revisited that presentation that he's made to the client, and he's included a really good, funny opening slide. He's added a few other slides with great, facts and figures. He's practiced the presentation throughout the day, and he's gone to Ashwin in the evening. Rohan starts delivering the presentation to Ashwin as if he was the client. And Ashwin is so impressed that his body language and eye contact were much improved. But do you know what impressed him the most? How he maintained the interest of Ashwin during that presentation. And that is the fifth component of a constructive conversation: maintain interest and excitement. Ashwin, the manager, really appreciates Rohan's efforts and he asked him, are you ready for another client meeting? Rohan smiles and nods. Ashwin asks him what was the biggest learning of the day, and Rohan replies that he learned 6 important components for the art of conversation, and he narrates all the 5 points that we have spoken about. So Ashwin asks him, what's the 6th component? And Rohan says, it's what I'm doing right now, summing up all the learnings. So the 6th component of a constructive conversation is sum it up. And that's what I do. I summarize the match for you. I summarize what the experts are saying, and that's what makes it interesting. Now you know the important components of a conversation. It's time to implement them by actually starting a conversation.